Fleas are small wingless insects that feed on the blood of our pets, i.e. they are a type of external parasite of dogs, cats and other animals. They are often difficult to identify and can jump from one animal to another. Flea bites can be more than an itchy nuisance for some dogs and cats, as they can cause allergic dermatitis, a reaction to certain proteins contained in flea saliva. Constant scratching can cause permanent hair loss or other skin problems for your pet. By feeding on your pet's blood, fleas can cause anemia and in rare cases, death. Fleas present in the environment easily enter your home from the outside, either aboard an animal or a person. Once inside, and if they find a pet, they will feed on its blood, so they will stay and start reproducing. Adult female fleas can lay up to 50 eggs daily on your pet's fur, and the eggs are spread by carpets, pet bedding and other textile objects where they hatch, giving rise to larvae. The larvae develop into pupae, and these in turn develop into adult fleas, which infest your pet again. In fact, only 5% of the fleas in an infestation are found on your pet. The remaining 95% are distributed throughout your home in the form of immature fleas. There are hundreds of insecticides, repellents, and growth inhibitors to protect your pet against flea and tick bites. But let veterinarian Jorge Sanchez explain which product to use according to your pet's needs. Hello, I am Jorge Sanchez, veterinarian from the Universidad de Ciencias Aplicadas y Ambientales, UDCA. I am a specialist in canine and feline dermatology, and currently I have a master's degree in veterinary allergology. Today I wanted to talk to you about a topic that, in the past days, I was asked about the importance of fleas, because in all the talks I talked about fleas and the problem that they generate, and today I want to talk about fleas from 3 points of view. Why it is important to control fleas. Since the beginnings of human medicine we find pandemics. Now with COVID-19 we find historically that the world has been hit by many pandemics. One of them was the Black Plague, which was caused by the pester tab, a bacterium that was transmitted by fleas carried by rats, specifically. That pandemic started in northern China. With the roads and commerce, the roads began. The exchange and the rats began to arrive in Europe, and those rats were contaminated. The way they were transmitted was through fleas. What were the fleas like, and why did it explode so much? It turns out that also at that time in the Catholic religion they gave all people a penny to get out of cats, because cats meant demonized animals. If you have seen it in their glowing eyes, they believed they had lanterns which were the eyes of the devil. So at that time, the priests and clergymen paid a penny per dead cat. That meant that the increase of rats in the population in emerging cities where there were no sewers, where sewage was poured into the streets, swarmed, and as the rats swarmed, the fleas swarmed, and this caused this plague to be transmitted. At that time it was not known what caused it. That's why 3 out of 4 people in Europe lost their lives. And why? Because of fleas. When they realized this, the clergy themselves began to give 2 pennies for each cat kept in the house, and that is how the rat population was counteracted. Thus fleas and cleanliness began to control this type of disease. Nowadays, in 2020, with this COVID-19 disease, the Pastina pestris has also surfaced in North Africa and in the south of Italy. Some cases were also found, and it is here where veterinarians must take into account the control of fleas and its importance. This is on the side of pandemics and medicine in general. Now, I want to start talking to you about the processes that a flea does to a dog or cat. For each flea, it is said that if a dog has the same flea for a year, it is capable of consuming up to 100 milliliters of blood. What does that mean? That is a continuous loss of blood, of proteins for the patient, then it produces anemia, produces other types of things, transmits parasites, and can transmit bacteria. Not the pestina, but it can transmit hemoparasites that can cause death if they do not manage to control it. In felines, we will find hemobartonellosis, Bartonella, and in dogs we can find Babesiosis, we can find other types of rickettsias that are transmitted as bacteria. And by parasites we are talking about long parasites, which are transmitted by the blood of the flea, so they not only produce external parasites but also internal parasites. Besides, a parasite on our patient is annoying. It will produce scratching, bites, bad smell, he will scratch for a long time and he will not be a happy cat. The other part is the allergies that people say, my dog or my cat is allergic to fleas, he gets a flea and goes crazy, that can be real. But as we saw in a past program, we have to do a specific test to determine if our patient is allergic to fleas or not. Another way to generate allergies is the bad habit of using flea control. So if we use flea control in an errant way, when we see a flea, then we ask the owner how often he uses flea control and he says, every time I see a flea. So every year or every 2 years, or every December. That increase and decrease in the amount of fleas of our patient makes our patient prone to generate an allergy. It is much easier to generate a kind of allergy, so always controlling allergies. Talking about flea control, we have a very large arsenal of how we want to control fleas. We have from shampoo, soap, spray, powders to be able to do it directly on the patient. These types of processes have a very short and limited time. If you use it in the bath or on the bath or in rinses, and it can last between 14 to 30 days maximum. The powders for environmental control are used, diluted depending on what the label says, and a fumigation can be done in the house. Be careful, they are epurecans and pyretroids, they can cause harm to children and you have to be very careful with that. Then we come to the collars that can be placed on dogs and cats. There are some that can last 30 days, 3 months, or even 6 months. They work very well because some also control, not only fleas, ticks and mosquitoes, in some cases, and they work very well because the animals are also allergic to mosquitoes. We have the next generation, which are the pipettes, and they are placed on the back and they are used to control fleas. They are absorbed subdermally and they work for 21 to 30 days. But be careful, they have to work very well and they work depending on the skin cycle of our patient. It is not the same for a patient who has stable skin, who has stable skin control that lasts 21 to 30 days, these medications are going to work very well. Then come the new generation, which are oral, which adhere to proteins or fats in the blood and are new generations. We find 5 days, 33 days, or 3 months. They work very well for dogs and cats. You can use any of these as long as you read the labels very well. Use them frequently and always ask your veterinarian which is the best medication for them to use. In my choice, I really like the new generation ones. They are oral, they work between 30 and 90 days. They work very well, and don't forget to always ask your veterinarian which flea repellent to use, when to use it, and what is it for. I am Jorge Sanchez and I look forward to your visit in my social networks, and I hope to see you at the Dermatological Center in Bogota. Thank you very much.